Where do the Lady Vols go from here after falling to Vanderbilt 84-76 2 times in 1 year? They fall to the Commodores this time in the second round of the SEC tournament. Quite an early bounce for the Lady Vols basketball program. The answer the Lady Vols gave us is that they kind of just need to get back to the basics. So many times this season we've maybe sensed some cracks in this team, but wins did a lot to cover up what those mistakes and what those errors and cracks might have been. So where the team goes from here is just trying to get settled back. And we have Lady Vol fans that came for the trip.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
Thank you, God. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, the Lady Vol is not able to get a win. For those Lady Vol fans here tonight, a number of South Carolina fans here as well. And the team wants to give those Lady Vol fans and you guys wins. Unable to do that here inside South Carolina's arena here. And when we kind of get back into the three takeaways following that match is, again, what's the next step for the Lady Vols? You're guaranteed one win, one game, and then you kind of continue to move on. And for them, it's like Samara Spencer says, there's no time to mess around. We have got to lock in. And she says, she kind of laughed. It was like, we're too late into the season to be feeling this way, but you kind of go back to the fact that this has been a team that did not know each other 6, 7, 8 months ago. So sometimes these errors go back to habits, and that's what we'll get to when I come back later tonight to have sound with the players. Is a lot of these moments where we feel that they're playing hero ball and not passing goes back to when they kind of had to do that at their last stop. Like they were the go-to shooter. There was no offense without them, and they got to learn to continue to share the ball. But when we get to what happened here specifically in this second meeting against Vanderbilt is they are so good when their defense is feeding into their offense. We saw defense specifically with Jillian Hollingshed helping to give the Lady Vols its first lead of the game in the second quarter. And it was after Jillian Hollingshed was able to get a defensive rebound, ends up getting it to Samara Spencer, who takes advantage of an open lane, and it's 32-31 early into that second quarter. So when they were able to kind of turn it on defense, that's where we saw this game take off. A massive sequence, I think, was later into the second quarter, and it was Z Spearman had her hands on 3 separate massive plays consecutively for the Lady Vols. One was when Talaysia Cooper was trying to drive in the paint, but then she hears Z Spearman call for the ball, and she gets a nice jumper to go there. And then I think it's Jewel Spears able to steal the inbound pass, and then they get that ball back, and then she misses the 3 from the wing, and then it's actually Z Spearman who flies in the paint and is able to get that put back there. And then on the other end, when Vanderbilt's trying to get back into possession, it's Z Spearman getting a solid block. It ends with Avery Strickland getting a really nice layup. That was a 6-0 run in 32 seconds for the Lady Vols, all because they locked in on defense. They were passing the ball on offense, and that's the key recipe for this team. And it's what we have seen keep them close in these top-ranked games, delivered them wins. But so often they get away from that. And that gets to the third and final point, are these cold starts, and at this point cold stretches, and that's where they get to that idea of playing hero ball. Maybe when they're not getting those defensive stops that they're used to getting, they get a little tense, and it kind of, not that it's like insecure play, but they feel like they got to like take it over, and they can't trust each other. They really feel like they only trust themselves, and that's how the play is kind of describing it and breaking it down to us. And that's the main thing that the team has to figure out a way to get away from those cold starts, because against better teams, and we'll see who they get matched up with now in the NCAA tournament, they can't afford it, and they haven't been able to afford these cold starts. And what Jules Spear was telling me after the game is sometimes it's like they don't get locked in onto the game plan, into the schematics, because they kind of want to take it over themselves and they want to will this team back to victory. There are so many nice features to this car that I really enjoyed in my drive to Greenville. Like you probably will see in the video in a second, it tells me how close I am to like other objects, which is nice because this car is kind of big for me. And then, you know, being able to see the speed on the hologram through the windshield is really nice, especially when I'm in areas that I'm unfamiliar with. And just how quiet the drive was made it such a pleasant ride to Greenville to cover the Lady Vols. And that's not the way to do it. Just like in the second point, when it's defense feeding the offense, that's when they are playing their best. Not necessarily because they need their defense to fuel their offense and they don't have offense without their defense, but it's those moments force them to share the ball. It forces them to slow down. When they don't do that, they look really rushed. They don't have the best shots that they take, and it ends in a really disappointing loss, like those Lady Vol fans that we saw earlier. It's just these are not the types of games that they want to go out there and produce. I think all of us probably would take those losses that we saw against LSU and South Carolina in those first meetings and what we've seen in 3 of the last 4 games of this regular and postseason. And I think the team, they say that these next days off might honestly serve them better than playing. And of course you want to say that because that's your new reality. You don't want to say that playing is better than practicing when you don't have the option to play in the SEC tournament. But this team has some serious questions to answer. And I will have a post-game report again with some of those players' sound to include just to see what they say, because it was really insightful what they had to say, and I think that's something that you guys will enjoy, so I'll certainly have that prepared for you guys later tonight as they turn their attention to the NCAA tournament. It's a good place to be that you're still in it, just obviously earlier than they wanted it to be. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on what the Lady Vols had to say after this upsetting loss.